Alright, good morning. Today's little project is going to involve taking the truck that's behind me there and replacing the ball joints with a replacement pair of ball joints from a place called EMF. I'm tired of fighting with ball joints. EMF is a Canadian company that makes rebuildable ball joints, and I will show and demonstrate a lot of stuff about the ball joints while I'm doing it. I've already done the driver's side. I need to complete the passenger side, and in the case of my truck it'll be a little bit different than your normal 2002 Dodge 3500, but we'll see how this all goes and I'll talk about it. So the first thing I got to do is get this thing jacked up and safety on a jack stand, and then get that wheel off there and out of the way. The ground is very wet. The ground is very wet. Various things, because I don't feel like getting soaked today. I ain't the happiest when I do that to myself. So let's get this jacked into the air. Now, of course, chocked in the back and in gear and in low range, so she ain't gonna move. That ain't sounding enough for my taste. Up we go. Hey-ho, hey-ho. Doesn't need to be particularly high in the air for this. It just needs to be off the ground. Okay. High enough for the jack stand to sit on, which we are not even close. So we're going up another 3-4 inches. Set that back down and we'll be setting about where I want to be. There we go. Now I can just leave the jack stand sit there. And I can rip the wheel off. So here that goes. Okay, handful. Oh yeah, that's full of water too. Okay. Let's talk about what we gotta do. So a couple things to note. I'll shade this over. These hubs are not stock Dodge. This has been changed. It has a spin free kit in it. Those are mile marker manual locking hubs. The internals are Timken bearings. The end of the shaft, the drive shaft, is reset to match a Ford. It is coupled to the original shaft out of the differential. Replacement universal joints, of course. And overall, it allows me to have the spin free kit installed and bearings I can replace rather than the unitized bearing that belongs in there. To get this done, I need to replace this guy right here. Now if you look at that thing carefully, you can see it's an offset ball joint. It has too much play in it. It's causing wobble at high speed. Now I've gone through If you look right there, that thing is a Luke's link, and Luke's links have been used to replace all of the ball joint type joints in the front end. It's tight. It won't have issues. What I got to do now is put in a set of ball joints. Now, the ball joints in question are made by, like I said, EMF. And EMF makes some exceedingly nice stuff. If I can open the box one-handed. Here we go. Alright. Now, got only one problem. This guy, hang on while I set you down. And reorganize, and then we will come back to it here in just a sec. This guy is the one that was shipped to me. This is the one I already had. Okay. So let's look at this. If you look at the top of the ball joint, you'll notice it has what looks like pin spanner holes in it. It's threaded. You can take it out. All the internal components can be replaced. There's a set screw right there. As a top joint, it sets in on this, and you basically never have to take it out again. You just replace the internal components if they ever wear out, which is a very cool design. I really like it. Only problem is they come in two sizes. See how it says regular and oversized? That's a long, deep subject, but what happens is Dodge cast iron knuckle, cast iron what's-a-who's-its that mounts the wheel. I'll get the name later when I feel like looking it up. The replacement parts that you can buy from Moog and everybody else, they make these the size of this right here, the diameter, oversized to make it stick in there. But the problem is once you put it in, you can never put in a standard size joint again. EMF makes it in both sizes, as do other manufacturers who understand the problem. This is a standard size joint that was accidentally sent to me. It can be hand set into the knuckle and hand removed, which was sort of surprising when I saw the oversized. EMF, of course, made it right without any fuss. They're very good people to deal with, so I was very happy about that. Once the joints are placed in there, you of course don't have the offset like I have in my existing joints. I don't think it was doing me that much good anyway to do the offset the way it was set. I think I'd be better off with standard joints and properly aligned as best as possible. So what that means is I have to get out all the goodies to take apart that hub and then do a press to remove the ball joints, which on this particular rig is a royal pain, and we'll get into why in a bit. But that is the next step. Okay, so I've been collecting a bunch of different tools to do this and get busy here, but I have to do two things. I shouldn't do this one first. I should do the main hub first to get the brakes and stuff off of it. So first but foremost, I gotta back the brakes up, which isn't a particularly big thing to do. I just gotta get in here and get behind them and give them slow force. And they're good and cold, so I'm not going to push them too hard. Now, you could take them off and gently take them loose, but really all I'm doing is getting enough space on them slowly so that I can go ahead and slide them off there, because it's really all I need. Keep in mind that pressure tends to push them back. So that should about do it right there. All I'm going to do is take the entire brake cluster off whole, the entire caliper, because I don't want to fight with it. Yeah, it's heavier, a lot. But once I get it up and strapped out of the way, I don't have any problems to fight with. One thing you got to note, up in here, this holder, you got to pull the line loose so everything's flexible for the ABS sensor, so that it doesn't break any of that. Well, this is being an iffy little bugger. Okay, so while I'm thinking about that, we'll just go ahead and pop that up out of there, out of its frame. That one, this one's a little bit easier since it's just plastic clip rather than metal. He said, and then it fights with him. There. Okay, so we're completely loose and flopping around. I mean, you could take the whole thing off, but there's no point. It's got about 7 keepers on it. You won't need to. Now I'm digging through bolts because I can't remember what size it is. 15, 14, 16, I don't know. Yeah. So let me whiz that guy off. I know what I forgot was all the big hammers. Okay, once you pull it part way off, lay it on there just a hair, and then go get the big hammer you forgot. I'm learning to like these little snap-on dead blow hammers. They're nice. And that'll do it. Drop that guy out. Put the nut back on her so we don't lose her. Shove it down out the way for the moment. Okay, that makes this thing completely loose. Now, since we're working on the back side of it, we'll turn it around. Oh, I see why. There's a 12-point. I'd forgotten that. Can't remember what size they are. Grab one each. Figure it out when we get out here. $17. No, 16, sorry. I knew it was an odd size. So 16, 12-point. I wish I had shorter ones, but for some reason all I have is the tall Craftsman sockets, but they generally work okay. And then, because I'm on this side, it's all lift. And I have them Loctited in there, so it's quite a bit of lift. Okay, I broke the Loctite. I don't really like the idea of my bricks coming off while I'm using them. I'm funny about that sort of thing. Holy Christ, I got that in there tight. Don't lift with your back. Yeah, they're in. There weren't no playing on that one. We'll run out of battery in a second here. Alright. Rip them off with the impact now. The worst thing I think you can do is take an impact to a 12-point star type socket unless it's loose. There you go. And like I said, they were Loctited. If you look at the bolt, you can see the leftover Loctite on it. Loctite blue. Okay. Yeah, they slide okay. Now, what I have to do is very carefully strap this guy up and out of the way. Normally you'd hang it, but I need to use ties. This thing doesn't work well with hangers that I've used. So I'll just get ties. They're some kind of flexible metal under rubber, so they don't tear anything up. And if I do one and then do the other, it'll stay put, generally. Preferably without crimping that hose. All we really want to do is keep it out of the way of the press. Okay. So the bends on the hose are a little tighter than I like, but they're not too tight, so it should work fine. Okay, so magical trick number 2 is I need to take this guy off. So to do that, I have to go in this right here. We take out all the Allen head screws, which in this case is 4mm. They're not in there particularly tight. I don't like the balance I see there. Doesn't look like it tightened up real good when I put it in last time. I jammed it in there in pretty much of a hurry. Once I figured out what was wrong with this thing, I had to stick it back together. So, one at a time. Take them loose. Really no need for a speed gun here. There's nothing to them. And we get these. This loose. Good. Alright. Whatever you do, don't lose the little screws. We have one drop out there. And there's no ring around it. It has to stay in there with care, he said. Alright, maybe drop the screw more on. There it is. Okay. I am nothing if not completely ungraceful. Alright, so what you have here is the lock for the 4x4, and there is a snap ring that rolls its way around in here, and you can see it. It's actually a 2-part setup. There's a top snap ring, and there is a bottom that has to come out as well. So what I normally do is try to get where I can hook on the top or bottom of it. Yeah. There's a cut edge on this one right here. So if I block it, get in behind the cut edge, try to pull it out, you can see how it walks out and then walks the rest of the way. Nice and simple. The next one that goes in there, that should be behind it, is a 2-part ring, and it will have a, well, not 2-part, it's spiral wrapped, I should say. So I get in behind it, get behind the ring, get up underneath of it, start it on its way, and then you just kind of walk it around and the ring will come on out. And we got a little water in there, which I'm not exactly surprised by, considering that this place has been the dismal swamp for the last couple months. Even with the O-ring, because I took it apart once already. And then the locking mechanism just pulls out, and you have gears that lock into the hub. And yeah, the moisture is minor. There's not anything big going on in there. And we have grease teeth all over it, which is what we should have. Put that back up underneath the truck where it will not get hurt. We'll get the last of the water out of here because I don't want to mix it in. I think that came from my undoing more than anything. Alright, I gotta stop and switch battery now. Okay, so we switched batteries, or cameras, sorry, because the batteries situation required it. Alright, having taken all that pieces out, this should be loose enough that I ought to be able to slide it in at this point. It's not locked on anything, and there you saw it went in. Okay, so I am able to pull this hub assembly off once I get the hub assembly loose. So what I'm going to do is, instead of taking this thing all the way apart, taking the analog brake sensors and everything off of it, because it's all embedded in one block, there are 4 bolts that hold the whole thing on. I'm going to unclip here. I'll walk around the back side and look. Inside here, even though the light's really terrible, you can see those 4 star-shaped bolts. There's 2 here, they're 2 exact on the same size on the other side. Take those 4 out, and I'll be able to pull the whole hub off. Normally, that would be a rusty disaster and very hard to do, but in this case, since I did the hub work a few years ago and used aluminum anti-seize on it, it comes right out of there, which makes this job a lot easier to do. Now the big thing is it weighs about a gazillion pounds and is a lot of fun to take off. Because of that, we have ways to deal with that. So first things first, I'm going to stretch my way down in here and take 4 bolts loose. That should be, he said with hope, 14mm 12 point, and one hopes at least possible to pull. I'm going to take 2 quarter turns on them to get them loose, and then we'll let power take over from there. They're not terrible, but they're also Loctited. Again, your entire front end is held together by those 2 lousy little bolts, or 4 lousy little bolts, I should say. That entire assembly where I pulled the manual hub apart doesn't actually hold the wheel on. The only thing that holds the wheel on is these 4 bolts. So let's get them. Backwards is good. Some days I wish I'd gone with DeWalt, but you know, we got what we got. Or I'd gone with Milwaukee, sorry. I've got the DeWalt, it ain't that strong. Especially if there's a bit of corrosion holding them things in there. I really need to clean these off. See, if you look at the bolt, you can see that it's thickened up crud on the threads. I need to blow that off there. A little wire brush action called for. Okay, rock her around. And we go back to taking those little guys off. I like this ratchet, but it's the only one that I've got where you absolutely have to positively push that pin in to get it loose. Alright, get up here, reorganize my butt. Such a way I'm wrapped around this puppy. You know what? You can't do that without an extension there, bud. That's 14. You want to get the crackers? Yeah, I'm going to get the heavy cracker. It's easier if I break it loose with a big bar. Okay, so I'm going to line up the busties to loose. There we go. Long way, Corrigan. It's a lot easier with a lot of leverage in that little 3/8 system. It's funny when you consider I had this all apart, looking at what was wrong with it about a month ago, trying to figure out why I had that high-speed front end wobble. And it appears that the basic cause of that was this problem right here. Ball joints. Okay, here we go. That's number 3. And last but not least, number 4. You gotta be on the bolt, moron. Alright, there's number 4. Now, if I wiggle this up and down, it ought to come loose almost immediately. It does. Now, it's ridiculously heavy, very unmanageable, and I'm about to pull out the solution I used last time, because I'm 56, my back don't like this sort of crap. It's time for the redneck transmission jack. Okay, I'll have a video of this at some point because I shot the footage and then never built it, or never put it up. But this thing is a very old jack, I think. Well, it says Central Hydraulics, so that one came from a Harbor Foo a long time ago. So what I want to do is I want to get it so that my platform center is just about there, right size, to where I can wiggle it loose. And then I'm going to wiggle it so that it drops onto the jack. Now, the drive shaft is trying to come with it. I'm going to push that back in. I don't want it to come with me. Come on, you. Go back in there where you belong. There we go. Back in she goes. So I'm trying to pull, back up a little bit. I'm trying to pull the hub off, leave this just setting in there instead of pulling the drive shaft out, so that I get this guy. And I need as much stretch in that cable there as I can get. Because in the long run, where it's going is back in up under here, out of the way, as we get done. It doesn't have to go far, it just got to stay up in there. Greasy little bastard. Okay. Come on. Let go. Let go. You can. You don't have to be evil about this. I got a little bit more room. You don't have to be like this. Okay. All right. Off. Need to get the washer. That washer. Oh dear. That looks like a seal problem. It is. Uh-oh. We're gonna need a seal. Alright. It's never good when what you see is a little spring like that coming to you. Those springs belong behind the seals. And that means the seal's coming apart. Now, the one nice thing about this is because it's a spin-free kit, those are just standard parts. So all I have to do is replace said standard parts. Alright. Now, I will maneuver this around a bit. And we'll continue our journey in there. And then we'll let it down a little. The idea being that when we're done, we can set this on up out of the way, like so. Now, what I have is a need for another rag. It's weird. It's been cold around here. It's 60-some degrees out here and I'm sweating to death. Okay. So we want to line it up straight. There is another seal in there, but it is all the way over to differential housing. And I want to very, very gently slide this guy out until we get there. Bring it on out. And it's good. Alright, so that leaves us with cleaned off hub. I now need to take off 2 bolts, or 2 nuts, and then get into the press kit. And I hate pressing joints on this particular brand series of Dodge because of a couple of things. We'll come up here in a second. So let's maneuver the camera around a little bit more, get a tighter focus on the project, a bit more room for Daddy's fat butt. Ooh. Slide the grip mat up a little ways. A little more room here. Jeez, there's a bunch of crap in there. Okay. Oh, that's what I forget. Cotter key movers. Right, so I'm going to go get the bits to take cotter keys out. They're going to have to come off. There's a couple of things to note right now. I know this looks weird because it's got all this silver stuff on it, but that's the aluminum anti-seize that makes it real easy to get out. When I first did this, the truck came from Michigan. No, not Michigan. Wisconsin. Sorry, Wisconsin. And it was a bear to get the first unitized bearings out of here that were bad. Well, that's not good. Pretty much everything that's supposed to hold that on is missing. Bad. Alright. Future. Now the aluminized anti-seize causes that not to be a problem. Another thing to note is this keeper up here that you see sticking up above is actually bolted onto the shaft of the upper ball joint. So if you forget to put it on and get all the way to the end, you feel really dumb because you have a drive shaft in the way of getting it replaced. So it's usually a good idea to remember that one. Ask me how I know. I never claimed to be smart. Alright, so I need the tools to pull those cotter keys out, which I will go get. Continues. I guess I bungeed up that seal. That's embarrassing. I should know better than to do something like that. We're supposed to be better than that. Oh wow, I bent that one double. That's interesting. So get it opened up a little bit. There we go. And it'll break off because that's what cotter keys do when they get some age on them. I wonder, any lettering on that? I think that plate is supposed to be on there and then the seal's supposed to be underneath of it. Either way, I gotta fix it, which is sort of irritating. Since I'm not going to reuse the cotter key, you can go crazy trying to pull out a cotter key, and the metal's soft and will work harden really fast, so it's almost easier just to break them off and then get to where the stub of it is, or drive it out real gentle with like a pair of pliers and a chisel of some kind. Hammer. Everything's a hammer when you need a hammer. We're getting there. Should be out in just a second. Not sure how much of this is showing, but there you go. One cotter key. Alright, so that bottom nut is loose to where I should be able to get it. Now I gotta look at the other side and see what I gotta do with the top here to get it happy. Wow. What did you do there? I bent it under. I left the top straight. So that should come right on out. That would be easier to drive under from this side. There should be a head right there. Yep. Okay. Yep. That did it. Turned it over and made it much easier to get at. So if I get it straight now, I should be able to lightly tap it back through, and then from this side I should be able to get a big old screwdriver in it. Nope, screwdriver head too fat. Got to get the little needle nose and wiggle. So if I set the needle nose through it, hold the needle nose pliers and tap on it with a hammer, it should drag it back through, which it's doing slowly. How come all the videos never show the fight you gotta have with all this stupid little junk? I don't know. It isn't pretty to watch, I suppose. Come here, you. Try not to bust knuckles. This is always really good for broken, busted stuff. Painful oopses and all that fine kind of garbage. See if I get a screwdriver in behind it, get some leverage on it local. No, she's just gonna be evil. You got to love it. Ta-da! I will not be defeated. I may be de-wetted, but I will not be defeated. I think these are all much larger sizes than what I got out here, so I'll have to get the right ones. Yeah, that's the right size. Alright, so tightening means I gotta go that way with it. Oops. Nothing like getting right into the camera, is there? Okay. Felt like we knocked it loose. Let's see. Yep. Okay, so you take them part way down and then stop. Because the idea is that when we knock this thing loose, it's going to drop onto them. So let me get the big wrench I'm going to need for the bottom. You know, people ask why these ball joints fail. And it's kind of weird. I'll show you in a minute. When I get this thing out of the way, it's much more obvious what's wrong with these things. Why they don't work very long. I actually have a 29mm wrench on the way because I wanted to complete the collection, but I don't have it here today yet. So we do it with this guy, which is a New Britain AW15. What is it? It's like a 12 or 14 inch adjustable wrench. Which of course isn't breaking it loose at all. So we'll make it into an impact wrench. Okay, so these are a press fit. Anybody who's worked with them knows that. But the problem is with a press fit, if you don't take the thing all the way off, about as far as you can go, you've got to be able to turn it by hand. You'll never get the blessed thing off there because it'll be spinning free, covered up by the knuckle, and causing you an insane amount of grief. Now they've gotten smarter. Like this one has a slot cut in the bottom of the spindle that makes it possible to stick something in there to hold it and make it behave itself. But for here, and I can still feel the resistance in it, I got to get it down. Castellated nuts like this rust, and you've got resistance to the turning pretty constantly. Okay, we're getting there. I want about as far as I can get. Yeah, see, now I can loosely turn it by hand. There's no resistance. So the next magical trick is to slug the bejesus out of the actual knuckle to get it to fall. And there are a couple of ways to do it. Part of the problem is that metal thing I was telling you about. It's up here, so I'm going to take that out of the way because I don't want to bend it. I can take the nut off. The metal holder for the anti-lock brakes wiring. Okay, and then we get that nut started back up because I don't want it to fall. Clean off this. Now I got something I can hit, and you just kind of go to town on it. So let me adjust my position. Ow! Hitting your head against a fender is never a smart move. Okay, I got something I got to avoid there, and I got the camera, so we're going to back the camera up a little bit. Okay, I'm off that one. I don't think I'm off that one yet. Ah, there you go. Saw it drop, right? Ouch. Okay. All right. So a couple of things to note as I scoot you in here. And we'll hand take these nuts off. Top one first because it's easier. The nuts are discards. You don't need them. All new ball joints are going to come with them. Okay. Things to note. That is, the picture's not on the picture. So if you're looking down at this guy, this is tapered, both top and bottom. One of the things that can happen is that taper can get wobbled out and actually get to where it won't work. It's a known problem. If you push them hard enough, the taper's no good. I'm just going to scrape the crap off of here just because it's easier to work with if it isn't covered with sludge. Now the other taper was fine. This taper is okay, and was the last time I pulled it apart. I haven't let it get sloppy, so it's got no wear issues and should be fine, and it should work just the way we want it to. Crud off me. So that knuckle is now out of the way. Now comes the really fun part. They have to be taken out. Those ball joints have to be taken out, and we run into a little problem. If you look at this ball joint right here, it centers. Let me move this up. It literally centers right under the outside edge of the top knuckle. The two holes are not in line with each other, which means these shafts are not in line with each other, which is exactly why these ball joints wear out. When the bottom ball joint rotates, the top one has to do this. See how it moves up and down? Okay. Problem is it's not supposed to do this. That heavy side-to-side wobbles it's going up and down allows this thing to start to dance at high speed. In the case of this particular truck, at roughly 60 miles an hour, I started to get a vibration. It was so bad, it was super annoying. You couldn't really hang on to it. It felt like the truck was coming apart. And it was all because that ball joint up there is banging back and forth. Once it starts doing that, it never stops. It just gets worse and worse and worse. That's on top of the standard death wobble stuff you get with these trucks. So yeah, they got a lot of nice design work in this axle. Do not know why they couldn't go with a straight spindle, but it's Dodge. Anyhow, the next magical trick is to get the entire kit out. To press those puppies out of there, this one goes up, this one goes down, and this one is the worst by far. It's almost easier to put a hammer on it and start driving it down to get as much out of it as you can from the top, and then go after it with the ball joint presses once you've done that. And I have to pull this guy out. I don't need to pull it out of the top one, but I got to pull it out of the bottom one. So if I was to put this guy on here, for instance, in the middle, and then whack the bejesus out of it once I pull the snap ring, it would actually go down. And I will probably do that. As I found on the other one, is if I drove it in as much as I could without dinging up the cast iron, it was actually easier to drive it out with a hammer, which may not make any sense, but you can't get the press on it right. Because on top of everything else, the bottom of this knuckle isn't flat. It's doved in like that, at an angle. So none of the ball joint press material fits on it right. You can't beat their design. I don't think they could have got it wrong in any other way possible. Okay, so we get these coupling pliers, and we get the double kit. Okay. Okay. So let's get this on here. Yeah, she's gonna be a popper. It's going to be a little evil today. These little picks are worth their weight in gold when you get into this mess. Alright. Now it's hooked up over. It's just a matter of walking it around. Come on. Don't be a dick. Oh, excuse me, bad choice of phrase. Have to remember to apply a little bleepage to that. Okay. If you were trying to save the O-ring, this would not be the way to do it. You'd try to stretch it out nice and straight. But what I've got is the O-ring seems to be a little stiff right there. I'll drive it around just a hair to loosen it up. There we go. There it goes. Yeah, it's still good. It isn't wrinkled. If it doesn't sit flat, you can't use it. But in this case, I don't really need it. We're going down. Said it was something harder. Ow. Don't hit it that way. Whatever you do, don't pull. Yeah, we've crept past the O-ring, or excuse me, the snap ring. Yeah, it's kind of loud, isn't it? And I can hit it this way too, but yeah. See, normally you don't want to hit it too much because you can possibly bend this a little bit. Possibly. It is malleable. I'm trying to put it into the force that moves. If this stops moving, you don't want to hammer on it at all. You got to try and do it with a press. Again, like I said, if you look at the alignment between this, it's right in that face, and it's just it's bloody impossible to press it off. All right, we're starting right at the surface. We go under. And it is going to come loose in just a second. Yep, there she goes. Definitely not the way you're supposed to do it in a civilized world. I know that. Okay, so a couple things to note. If you look at it, you'll see what look like splines on there. This is a Moog joint. It is supposed to fix, I think they call them problem solvers. Well, the way they problem solve is partially not really made public, although, who is it? Turbo Diesel Register has a complete article on it where somebody did some really good research that I'll go find that when I finally turn this into a video. But they oversize the joints to make them tight. And as soon as you do that, a standard size joint won't actually tighten up inside of here. So that is a huge problem for anybody who is trying to replace the ball joints. All the aftermarket manufacturers for the most part go oversize except for, I think it was Napa. Napa was in standard size, or possibly one other. I don't remember. I'll look it up. But once you have stretched that cast iron in this knuckle out just a little bit, it doesn't shrink, and you are forced into oversized joints. Now, when I did this, when was it? I want to say 2013. I did it the last time. I don't drive the truck a gazillion miles, so the joints, even though it was 2013, I don't have that many miles on it before they failed. It wasn't as common knowledge then. They didn't talk about it as much. So here I am with more knowledge later, and this is why I've purchased the EMF joints to replace those. They will require a full press to put them in, and we'll show you the way they do that they really do some nice stuff about that. Now, last one, we've got to assemble a pressing kit that will actually press that puppy out of there. So, what we need is Kit 1 and Kit 2. Alright, Kit 1 is an Astro Pneumatic 7897. It is the base kit for doing ball joint pressing and other assorted things of that nature. So what it will include is the ball joint press, the threaded shaft that makes it go, and a bunch of different cups to do certain things with it. Now the problem with these ball joints is this. To get here, I need to be able to press on the ball joint. I have to be able to do things to that. This cup will go up over that. I need a 2 and something, more than that. That'll work. And a cap on the top. So the idea is I got to be able to push up here to push that thing through, and I have to be able to do press in such a way that I'm pushing the goodies up. I have this problem though. I can't get... Ugh, that's nasty. Let's pull that cap off there. Yeah, that is a downward press. That's right. Get the rubber cap out of there. And we'll clean some of the grease off. Grease in here is just... It's well greased, you can see that. Doesn't make any difference. The shaft is... See how that loose wobble in there? That is just wrong. I'll show you what it looks like when I get the EMF joints in there, which are ever so much better. Alright, I want a real narrow push on that. That might work. It's a constant battle as to which one of the various ways you're going to press on this thing that will actually press go through. Okay. That'll go up. How much room have I got? Nope. It really wants it to go upwards. And that is a problem. Because what I need to do... I used that cap on the top. If I put that cap on the bottom, I get socketed up in there. There's just no easy way to do this. I'm trying to remember what I used the last time. Let me look in the other kit. So, the ball joint presses come in 2 kits. There is the base kit that everybody makes, and then there is what they call a master ball joint adapter set that goes with it. I bought mine from Harbor Freight because it's cheap, and I use it so little. And then you start looking at all the other stuff that's buried in there, which gives you a variety of other ways of dealing with things. Not the least of which is you can get 2 1/4 variants of various kinds of things that allow you to push on stuff. No, not what I want. That has got the right kind of size. Will it sit in the press? Is my next question. Got possibilities. Spent a lot of time here trying not to put things together that don't work. That's the 2 1/4 top. This is actually shorter now that I think about it. size is that? The good ones mark the size on the cups. Weirdly, Astro doesn't. They make really nice stuff, but they don't mark the size on their cups. They're exactly the same height. And they are not exactly the same size. And they're not wide enough. So it is definitely a 2 1/4. 2 1/2, whatever it is. Yeah, that's not even close. You got to use the wide ring. That's what, 2 5/8 right there? I don't know if that'll actually sit on there and work. And sometimes you do cars and trucks and whatnot that have ball joints where you just have to literally, basically destroy the ball joint press. That ain't gonna work because it goes straight through. There's the thing about God hates you. Well, he hates mechanics, I can tell you that. How are you going to press that, boy? Which one of the various pins? Sat here digging through 2 kits trying to find the best one. I think that's shorter. It is. That will help. So this guy on top of that guy is kind of like what I gotta have. Then I need this guy. Yeah, that should fit on there. Alright, so we get the thing to the shape we want, and then we start seeing if we can break it loose. And this is what it looks like. It is not a walk in the park by any stretch of anybody's imagination. Okay, so what you should see is, I've got this where I can see it. Hello, ball joint press. Yeah, I see it. I'm going to go ahead and start tightening this and see if we get what we want, and then maybe go get the wrench I want to use. Let's see. You don't be friendly and just come on out. I can't believe that. That don't make any sense. Alright. Well, we seem to have pressing action going on there in the right direction. So let's see if we can't go get the wrench I want, which is the long extension on the 3/4 socket. In front of me. Alright, we have pressing engagement to be part of. It never hurts to gently tap this. There it is. That's it. Back it all the way off. I'm going to have to beat that one fitting off the ball joint. I know that's coming. Okay, You don't take the press apart because you're going to need it to put everything new in. Same way you took old out. Wow. That was the breaking noise. Here. Remember that crack? There you go. I was pushing on the shaft, so that's what popped. But it was enough to get that thing out of there. And that little fitting is rather thoroughly put on there now. We'll get her off. Okay, so I'm going to need a new rag. So you clean up, of course, your entire fitting, but let's see if I can do that nice graphic demonstration of between sizes here. So, remember I said oversized versus undersized. This is a standard size ball joint. Okay? Can't quite do what I did to the other side. On the other side I was able to literally push it straight in. Right into the setting. This one won't quite fit straight. Okay, time to continue today. First thing I gotta do is I gotta put in the drive shaft. And back behind where you can't see me, I'm putting just a tiny bit of lube on the splines. We're gonna go through on the inside into the differential. And then I'm going to set that whole monster up in there. There's a seal in there that I do not want to mess up. And I have a dust seal on here as well. Okay. So, line it up, slide it in there with the top up a little bit, rock back, and slide on in, feeling your way down the tube. Now, the thing is at the far end there's a seal that I do not want to hurt. And it is hard to get it in there without hurting it. The seal has, crawl my way down here. Oops. Yeah, I'm wiggling the camera. Okay. As the seal goes in, or the seal in there, it's all the way over at the differential on the far side. And it has a kind of a cone shape to it to help guide this thing in, but you want to give it every assist you can give it. So, as it's going in, what I'm going to want to do is gently push something underneath of it so that when I push down out here, it goes up. So I'm going to keep sliding in, trying to feel my way into that lip seal, and there we go. I can see the drive shaft straightening out. And as I go in, I now need to feel my way into the spiders, which I have, and that leaves this thing sitting right up in there where it belongs. All very, very, very gentle. Okay, so the other thing we have is we had a seal go bad right in here. Now these hubs are kind of interesting because while these are machined hubs, they are machined to use Ford parts from circa 2000 to 2007 for like an F250, F350 with a Dana 60 axle in it. And they use the parts from it. So I have a box full of parts here from National. It's listed as an SBK5. Here you see it. But the thing is, inside of it, the back seal for this particular hub is the seal I need for a Ford. But it will do its job very nicely. So I'm going to apply some fresh grease inside that particular hub to make sure it's well greased. While I get up and go get it, grease-wise. Oh good, that doesn't want to come out either. Ain't that helpful. Sorry, grease gun issues. Trying to get a grease gun here that wants to work.
Don't be in such a hurry. Don't be what they thought. You're a train at the station that doesn't stop.
Yeah, there's just air pressure in there that just will not let up. What a pain. Alright. Not to get into the grease wars, but everybody has their own preference. I particularly like the high pressure red grease myself, so that's what I tend to use. And I will now proceed to pump some of it all over these gloves for me to put into the hole. The bearings are well lubed, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about why that seal went and busted on me. So I'm going to get it a little bit more loaded with grease. I got to put some notes in here about these free spin kits. I got this from a place out west called Torque King that I've had good luck with over the last several years buying parts for various things, transmissions and rebuilding transfer cases and the like. Only had one problem out of all of it, and it wasn't Torque King's fault. I had very bad luck with a replacement bearing for the front output shaft on an NP 241 heavy duty transfer case, which fits this particular Dodge, that I was trying to fix, and the big problem with it was a overseas made bearing for a good manufacturer that was about 5 thousandths low on the internal diameter for the shaft, which allowed the shaft to flop, and the end result was that it would tear up any seal that I put in it every single time. It was remarkably frustrating. Okay, let's get all these little screws here. Sorry, I'm drying off parts. We had a torrential downpour yesterday that put some water on top of things. So I am endeavoring to clean and dry the bits, some of which will need a bit of greasing before they go back together. There's another little feature of these things, these hubs. There's a tendency to pack them full of grease. You don't want to do that. The hub itself in here, actually it's in the hub I'm going to bolt in there. You don't want to pack them full of grease. If you do that, you end up with a lot of cruft in there that is absolutely not necessary, that gets in the way of things working right. Which may sound wrong and stupid, but it isn't. Oh wow, that got wet. We weren't supposed to get but just light rain last night. Surprise! I would so like to have a garage. I have one, I just can't fit the truck in it. It isn't big enough for it. The garage, that is. And I would like to have a lift also. I'm not going to have one of those anytime soon. Since the next project looks like it's going to be a split, since I have to do the rear end in this truck, at some point I have a messed up rear and I haven't the money right now to do what I want to do there, and also do what I need to do to the wagon we use to pretty much move everything and everybody around here. My 2009 Suburban is the utility wagon. We basically go everywhere, carry everything for any extended stuff we got to do outside. And that dingus, okay, turn, okay, turn. Alright, so that's okay, looks alright. And up. Now what I got to do is very carefully put the seal in. I think I will move you right up to here where you're like looking over my shoulder a bit. So we're getting that nice and clean now. There's some nicking on there that I didn't expect to see. I don't know where that came from. Well, let's go ahead and lightly fit the seal. So, can't buy a seal on a Sunday, which is today. So I end up with a dust cap and a thrust washer seal combo for this thing. I think it is. I wonder if it goes the other way. You are an argumentative little prick, aren't you? That is not flat on there by any stretch of the imagination. A dust cap like that on the other side. Yeah, that doesn't work that way. I would have said this is a dust cap, but I can't trust the yokes on here. I really would rather have that on there. So what I'm working on is this guy right here. There's a dust cap that was included with the bearing set that I think is supposed to be on here, but it's not quite the right size. From the feel of it. Doesn't quite want to just go on there. I didn't have them, and that wasn't included in the kit, so I'm not going to fight it that bad. But this guy right here is the sealed thrust washer rig that is supposed to go on the other side. Now, embedded down inside there is a spring, and that's what came out of the other one. This thing's double capped. It should not come out. Okay, so I got to tap that down in there real gentle. Come on. Yep. You wouldn't be like that, are you? Oh, it's gonna fight me. Should know that. Alright, I'm gonna reset here. 90% of an auto mechanic's job by not looking at stuff. You just can't look at it while you're working. You gotta feel it. I think that's 15, which is not that. This one? No. This one. Yeah, that's work. Alrighty. Went to ratcheting, bashing me about the camera stand. I'm so classy in the way I do filming. Alright. One select the opposite of tightening. That does not feel like it's got a grip on anything. No, it actually does. No, it doesn't. Bastard, come here. This one doesn't have a pilot. Makes it that much harder to thread in there. Okay, that feels like we got a bite. A little bit of blue on there too. On the hole. Might push that in a minute. Feels like it's in line with where it wants to go. There we go. Yeah, she's chasing on away. Down here. I'll do that. Okay. Now we gotta go to the big stiffy and give it some push to get it up nice and tight. And we'll be there. Don't want the brakes coming off either. Come on. That does not feel right. Kind of sloppy. It is. 17. Go down to 16. Over 16. That's 15. I gotta find 16. That feels wrong. And I'm not stripping my 12 Zunky bolts. That's 14. Well, I probably should just end the video there because we're pretty much there. Last and final notes and thoughts. Even though the brakes are very close, the embarrassment factor of forgetting to depress the brake pedal slowly and push the brakes back where they belong can be embarrassing. And I've got to put the wheel back on, and that should do it. It will need to go in for a complete alignment now by somebody who really knows what they're doing, because these trucks are very hard to align. The Earlshire 9999 paint job style alignment, well, whoever's style alignment, isn't going to work. Tires Plus, whatever. I have a specific shop that I take it to who specializes in just that, alignments for any kind of vehicle, from small cars to Class 8 trucks. So anyway, that's it. That's a ball joint replacement for a truck that's been modified to have free spin hubs. Thank you very much for watching.